Good evening to each and everyone. I am Jinky, your presenter for tonight. And tonight we are about to discuss about architecture. Architecture is the most functional of all art forms. The need to build structures may have stemmed from the psychological need for shelter, which by itself is deeply ingrained in human psyche. Early materials. Archaeologists discovered that early humans used as materials what their immediate environmental had to offer. Architecture has a lot of materials, but two of them is stone architectures and wood architectures. Stone architectures, stone is a chosen material particularly for its strength and permanence. And the examples of the stone architectures are adobe, milestone, and basalt. Post and lintel construction. This kind of construction, they built it with the stone. Post and lintel construction is the most basic structure to be developed in the beginnings of architecture. It is the structure that is made of two vertical stones that serve as support and a third stone positioned horizontally across them, creating an opening beneath. There are countries that are using stone for their construction as well. And one of them is Egypt. The longest history ever to be documented is that of the Egyptians. The Coptic culture dates way back into the early years of civilization. Egyptians used mud bricks, limestone, sandstone, and granite in large quantities. And all over the world known of their buildings or their architectures. Egyptians' architecture is focused on the massive monumental structures they built for their belief in their gods and their kings. And the example for that are the pyramid and the statues of Ramses at Abu Simbel and the pylon and basilica. That the famous architecture of the Egyptians people. And there are Greece as well. Greece, they made use of limestone for their pillars and walls. Terracotta tiles for roof and marble for ornamentations. The pillars were made thinner and more formal by the Greeks, which resulted with better balance and proportions. This is the example of the architecture of Greece, the Doric, Iconic, and Corinthian, and the Parthenon architecture as well. There are arch, bolt, and dome. These are the construction that made by stone as well. Number one is the arch. Its construction, smaller units of wedge, stone, or voussoirs are combined to form the whole structure. They have the keystone placed in the center to complete the arch. The pull gravity on the individual parts of each arch holds the arch together. And we have as well vaults. It is an extended arch. The barrel vault or the tunnel is constructed by placing arches behind each other until a desired depth is reached. These are the example of the vault construction in Greece. This is Groin vault, Roman arch, and the Gothic arch. There is dome as well. It is the extension of the principle of the arch. Stress from the way of the dome is transmitted in all directions at the base and in the walls and the other structure beneath it. This is the sample images of the dome, the Pantheon, the dome of St. Peter's Basilica, and the Hagia Sophia. And we have the second architecture, which is the wood. Wood architecture. Wood is an architectural material that had shown a lot of promise in the construction of beautiful and practical structures. The versatility of wood is seen in the use of this material for both sculpture and architecture. And we have two types of wood. We have hardwood angiosperms and softwood gymnosperms. Angiosperms is produced by trees with covered seeds. The hardness determined by the difficulty encountered to take them down. Example of those hardwoods are ash, balsa, beech, chestnut, mahogany, maple, hickory, and oak. And for the softwood gymnosperms decode, it is have uncovered seed. Example for the softwood are cedar, cypress, fir, and hemlock. We have types of construction, wood construction as well. There is post and beam. Post and beam is similar in form to the post and lintel. And second one is trusses. Lengths are joined together to form a triangular shape. This is the common shape of our houses, especially in the Philippines, in our country. It's a triangular shape. And we have as well balloon framing. Materials are mass produced in factories and assembled at the site, meaning the balloon framing, it is what we called ready made.
Good evening to our professor, Ma'am Elise, and to our classmates. Good evening. I'm assigned to discuss at least four topics tonight. Cast iron architecture is characterized as a soft natural element that can be mixed with other elements like carbon in varying amounts and in varying heat intensities, which would change its physical properties. According to some research, cast iron architecture is a building or other structure like bridge or fountain that has been constructed in whole or in part with prefabricated cast iron. The use of cast iron for building was most popular in the 1800s. Cast iron was used structurally and ornamentally, most notably in Britain. In the early 1700s, Englishman Abraham Darby revolutionized processes for heating and casting iron, so that by 1779 Darby's grandson had constructed iron bridge in Shropshire, England, a very early example of cast iron engineering. Steel cage architecture is an alloy of iron with small amounts of carbon and a variety of other metals, making it harder than iron and more rust fire resistant. These enhance characteristics that make steel more expensive compared to other structural materials. First, steel cage architecture was first used in the latter half of the 19th century. This type of construction method led to the creation of the modern skyscraper and designed our urban environment. When I said skyscraper, while I'm studying this, my son overheard it and he just simply said to me, "Thai skyscraper is the most tallest tower or building." And it is exactly true because as as what I have researched here, that the the steel cage architecture was used some of the famous tower, like for example the Burj Khalifa of or known as the Burj Dubai prior to its inauguration in 2010, is a skyscraper in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. It is known for being the world's tallest building. In fact, my son is true when he said that the skyscraper is the tallest tower. In fact, this research proved that the Burj Khalifa is one of the tallest tower ever built. Uh, it has a total height of 2,722 feet, or just over a half mile. Construction of the Burj Khalifa began in 2004, and the building was opened in 2010 as part of a new development called Downtown Dubai. And second example is, as you can see in our slides, the Petronas Tower. Petronas Tower, also known as the Petronas Twin Tower of Kuala Lumpur, or TLCC Twin Towers, are 88 story super tall skyscraper in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, standing at 451.9 meters or 1,483 feet. Construction started March 1, 1993 and opened August 31, 1999. So a third example here is still its structure, like the fence, the tallest fence, the stadium. So one of those are made of steel cage structure. Third, reinforced concrete architecture, or reinforced concrete architecture, also known as ferroconcrete. The combination of steel and concrete increases the strength and complements the weakness of the other. One of the example is the Sydney Opera House, or the famous iconic building in Sydney, Australia, also known as Sydney Opera House. Reinforced concrete is the common term given to a concrete member or slab that contains steel reinforcement, usually in the form of steel bars, to increase the strength of the structure. The material that results from the combination of concrete and reinforcing bar is called reinforced concrete. An example is what I have said a while ago, the Sydney Opera House, in a multi-venue performing arts center in Sydney, located on the foreshore of Sydney Harbour. It is widely regarded as one of the world's most famous and distinctive buildings, and a masterpiece of 20th century architecture. And its architect is known, the person of John Hodgson Peter Hall. The construction started on March 2, 1959, and it was being opened October 20, 1973. So the main functions of this structure is performing arts center. All right. So cable architecture is the advent of the development of modern steel. Steel cable bridges were constructed in major cities around the world. It showed flexibility in that they allow the road to sway within limits in response to changing weather and traffic conditions. Steel cable structure, a structural wire rope cables have played a major role in the engineering and architecture of many large structures and are widely used on projects involving bridges, vessels, stadiums, and glass facade membrane buildings. Example, as what you can see in our slides, the Brooklyn Bridge. The Brooklyn Bridge, suspension bridge spanning the East River from Brooklyn to Manhattan in New York City. A brilliant feat of 19th century engineering, the Brooklyn Bridge was the first bridge to use steel for cable wire. So very amazing because this Brooklyn Bridge was the first bridge to use steel for cable wire. All right. So last shell architecture shell architecture is an enclosed of wide spaces using a combination of reinforced concrete, wood, steel, aluminum, and even plastics and paper. This results in a lightweight enclosure that shares some similarities with a canvas tent or geodesic dome. So our example is a geodesic dome as what you can see in our slides. A geodesic dome is a hemispherical thin shell structure based on a geodesic polyhedron. The triangular elements of the dome are structurally structurally rigid and distribute the structural stress throughout the structure, making geodesic domes able to withstand very heavy loads for their size. A very familiar structure nowadays is like our covered court gym in every barangay. There's a like half moon roping of our basketball courts. So I know all of us would familiar in that kind of structure. So that's all. Thank you, and God bless us all.
Good evening. My name is Maria Cherry S. Altes, and I will be reporting Asian arts, Chinese arts, and Indian arts.
Asian arts. The huge Asian continent has given birth to numerous types of arts that predate anything seen in the West. Ancient pottery, for example, first appeared in China, as did large-scale bronze sculpture, sericulture, as well as jade carving and lacquerware, and also calligraphy. Asian culture is exemplified by Khmer temple architecture, as well as Buddhist sculpture, batik textile, and certain types of metallurgy, while in the archipelagos of Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines, it shares many characteristics with the oceanic art of South Pacific. Chinese arts. It forms an art that has been influenced by the great philosophers, teachers, religious figures, and even political leaders, and divided into the periods by ruling dynasties. Early forms of art in China were made from pottery and jade. The Bronze Age in China began with the Xia dynasty and Shang dynasty, has more elaborated the objects, including many ritual vessels that were crafted, while in Zhou dynasty the most common motif is the tattooing. It is an ancient Chinese mythological creature and is known to be one of the four evil creatures of the world. In early imperial China, porcelain was introduced and was refined to the point that in English the word China has become synonymous with a high-quality porcelain. Around the 4th century AD, Buddhism arrived in China, though did not become popular until 4th century. Terracotta Army. Inside the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor consists of more than 7,000 life-size tomb terracotta figures of warriors and horses buried with the self-proclaimed first emperor of Qin in 210 to 209 BC. The Terracotta Army belongs to Emperor Qin Shi Huang, and they are there to guard his burial site as well as protecting the entry to the afterlife. He was the dynasty emperor who managed to unite China so that it became a central state, and it was also because of him that the foundation of the Great Wall were laid down. Buddhist architecture and sculpture flourished in the Sui and Qing dynasty, which was particularly open to foreign influence. Buddhist sculpture returned to a classical form inspired by Indian art of the Gupta period. Toward the late Tang dynasty, all foreign religions were outlawed to support Taoism. Taoism holds that human and animals should live in balance with Tao, or the universe. Taoists believe in spiritual immortality, where spirit of the body joins the universe after death. During this time, painting in traditional style and calligraphy done with a brush dipped in black or colored ink. The primary subject matter of painting was the landscape known as Sansui. Its purpose is to grasp an emotion or atmosphere so that to catch the rhythm of nature. In Song Dynasty, poetry was marked by a lyric poetry known as Si, which expressed feeling of desire, often in adopted persona. Also in Song Dynasty, painting is more subtle expression of landscape appeared with blurred outline and mountains contour, which conveyed distance through an impressionistic treatment of natural phenomena. Under the Ming Dynasty, Chinese culture boomed. Narrative painting, with a wider color range and much busier composition than Song Dynasty painting, was immensely popular during that time.
Chinese art types. Chinese folk arts, literature, visual arts, Chinese music, performing arts, and architecture. Indian arts. It can be classified into specific periods, each reflecting particular religious, political, and cultural developments. To viewers schooled in Western tradition, Indian art may seem overly ornate and sensuous. Indian painting. Indian paintings can be broadly classified as murals, miniatures, and painting on cloth. Example, Mughal painting. Mughal painting is a style of painting on paper confined to miniatures, either as a book illustration or as a single works to be kept in albums. Other example is mural painting. A mural is any piece of graphic artwork that is painted or applied directly to a wall, ceiling, or other permanent substrate. Indian sculpture. Bronze and stone were commonly used during the 2nd and 1st century BCE in far northern India. Sculptures became more explicit, representing episodes of the Buddha's life and teaching. Buddhists believe that the human life is one of suffering and that meditation, spiritual and physical labor, and good behavior are the ways to achieve enlightenment or nirvana. In Buddhist religion, an end to personal reincarnations achieved by the highest enlightenment and freedom from personal passion, hatred, and delusion. Another most popular art form is called Rangoli. It is a form of sand painting decorations that uses finely ground white powder and colors and is commonly used outside the homes. Rangoli represents the happiness, possibility, and liveliness of a household and is intended to welcome Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and good luck. Indian architecture. One of their famous architecture was Taj Mahal. It was built by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan in memory of his third wife, Mumtaz Mahal. And Taj Mahal is widely recognized as the jewel of Muslim art in India and one of the universally admired masterpieces of the world's heritage. Classical India architecture, Sculpture, painting, literature, music, and dancing evolved their own rules conditioned by their perspective media. But they shared with one another not only the underlying belief but also the procedure by which the relationship of symbols and the spiritual states were worked out in detail. Thank you and God bless us all.
Konnichiwa. My name is Peter Divinagracia and I will be reporting on Japanese and Korean arts. Japanese art covers a wide range of art styles and media, including ancient pottery, sculpture in wood and bronze, ink painting on silk and paper, and more recently, manga, cartoon, along with the myriad of other types of works of art. Nature, asymmetrical, organic, spontaneous, and contemplative, describes Japanese arts. Jumon pottery, 1400 to 1000 BC. The ancient cord pattern pottery was produced by Japan's first Stone Age. Ukiyo-e woodblock prints, 1670 to 1900. These Japanese woodcuts were hugely fashionable during the Edo culture, made by artists like Hiroshige during 1797 to 1858 and Hokusai during 1760 to 1849. It was exported to Europe in the 1860s. Japonism, 1854 to 1900. Japonism is the name given to the late 19th century European craze for Japanese art. Notably, screens, fans, lacquers, silks, porcelains, and ukiyo prints were famous during that period. Origami. Origami is the Japanese art of folding paper, known as seiji in China and jong'i jobgi in Korea. Korean arts. Korean arts include traditions in calligraphy, music, painting, and pottery. The earliest example of Korean art consists of Stone Age works such as sculptures and petroglyphs dating from 3000 BC. Simplicity, spontaneity, and a feeling of harmony with nature describes Korean arts. There were 3 dynasties in the ancient time of Korea. First, the Three Kingdom period, followed by the Unified Silla period, then the Goryeo dynasty. And we're going to talk about the arts during the different dynasties. On the First Kingdom, the Three Kingdom period, the crown is very significant as a work of art. The branches of crown resembles trees and antlers. The inside of the cap resembles feather or wings, meaning this piece was designed with the central theme of nature. Seated Shakyamuni Buddha. During the Unified Silla period, the 11-foot-tall statue, cut out of granite, is the greatest cultural achievement under Silla rule. Built in an artificial cave under Mount Toham, the hands of the statue is in Bhumi Parsa Mudra position, which means the Buddha is in touch with the earth. The cave is modeled after Chinese architecture. Meibyong Bato, with decoration of bamboo and blossoming palm tree. This is during the Goryeo dynasty. Celadon pottery technique, which is green bluish hue pot that was fired at high temperatures and has a transparent glaze, was originally a Chinese invention. Korean Celadon is categorized by simple figures in the artwork. Seated willow branch, Kwanseum Bosal, during Koryo dynasty. The scene depicts the deity Bodhisattva, which uses strong color and gold pigments to depict the lifestyle of Korean royals during this period. As the Goryeo dynasty was a court period, much of monetary income was dedicated to establishing great architecture and works of art as shown here in this painting. That's all for the group 4 in the reporting. Thank you very much. 안녕하세요.